Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an angel therapy practitioner, intuitive astrologer, Reiki master, and empowerment coach. Today is January 11th, 2022, and I'm here today to talk about what I believe are some significant astrological dynamics that are coming up, and we're sort of ramping up energetically for them right now. And I feel like they're going to have an effect on us for the next year, year and a half, possibly even for the rest of our lives, as it could shift our perceptions and our way of interacting in our everyday lives. So I'm just going to jump right in and start off with the first astrological dynamic that's happening actually this week is Mercury retrograde. Most of us are familiar with the Mercury retrograde. Mercury represents our everyday activities. It sort of zips around the zodiac in a very, it's never far from the sun. It's going to represent how we think, our communications, which include our emails, our verbal communications, our thoughts, what we read, what we saturate ourselves in the way of news and media. Mercury retrogrades can make us feel like conversations and communications are going wonky. But this particular dynamic for me, this particular period of this Mercury retrograde feels very powerful to me because it feels like the environment of the world has evolved in such a way where rather than feeling like these things are happening to me, I'm starting to be aware of the information, the conversations that are coming towards me. To be specific, I happen to notice commercials on television and the way we market things and the way we present the good news and the bad news. And I believe that this is the beginning of an awakening for humanity in general to pay attention to the unconscious messages that have been given to us on a regular basis that have affected the way that we operate. So this particular Mercury retrograde for me is very powerful. It's the beginning of a process of evaluation from a larger perspective, meaning I'm looking at things not just as they're happening to me in my everyday life, but how my everyday life is teeing up my everyday life a month from now, 2 months from now, 2 years from now, etc. So I want to offer that as we go, Mercury's going to go retrograde on the 14th. We're already starting to see the shadow period as Mercury slows down, and then will start its appearance of going backwards. This happens for 3 weeks, and Mercury will go direct in the beginning of February on the 3rd. But I want to offer this because today is January, the first month of the year, the 11th day, that's 3 ones, in the year 2022. So there is very much something very powerful for me, not just about today, but about the year 2022 in coming to alignment and in cooperation and in compassion for my view of how I want my life to be. To, on some level, be able to remove myself from other people's perception of me to find my true north. So I say this because Venus, the planet of self-worth, the planet of money, the planet of our possessions, our skills in the way of expressing our voice. It can represent singing. It can represent a good orator. She's been going backwards in Capricorn, which rules structure and limitation and a feeling of being repressed or restricted in some way. And I feel when we look at Capricorn representing authority, government, and structure, we can see this playing out in the media. And I feel like this is all working in concert with the other astrological dynamics that are asking us to really take a step back, get off the hamster wheel, and start to drive the bus. The main thing that I think is so powerful is that as Venus, she's going to continue going retrograde in Capricorn. And then she's going to come back and she's going to go forward and have her third conversation with the planet Pluto. Pluto's been in Capricorn since 2008, and it has transformed this country, the United States, tremendously and will continue to do so. But that's a whole other video. But I want to offer it this way, because as Venus comes into her third conversation with Pluto, we are also seeing the North and South node change from the Sagittarius Gemini axis to the Scorpio Taurus axis. This is going to happen around the 18th or the 19th of January. Venus rules Taurus and Pluto rules Scorpio. So this conversation that they're having in Capricorn is take no prisoners conversation. It's Pluto saying to you, are you coming from your heart? Because Pluto, while it gets a bad rap for toxic energy, for control and power, and there are very strong negative influences that come from Pluto. And at the same time, Pluto is a transformer. Pluto is the type of thing that if you're willing on some level to listen to the voice of your heart rather than the voice of the crowd, Pluto will reward you. Pluto rules billionaires. Pluto rules other people's money. It rules the occult in some way. So when we're willing to go into those deeper psychological dynamics, because it rules detective psychology, it rules all sorts of criminal activity, from organized, criminal activity to criminal activity that's hidden behind the hero. So we're really going to see some strong dynamics coming up as the South Node traverses Scorpio. In many ways, I think it's going to ask humans, where are you giving up your power to other people? Scorpio rules taxes, inheritances, the stock market, people who move other people's money around in some way. So as we walk through this next year and a half of examining how we perceive our own power to create, we may go through a little bit of a challenge in disassociating ourselves with the reaction others may have to us. So I think that we're going to see people becoming very connected to their spirituality, to the universe at large, to the bigger pictures. And sometimes people will throw this into the Sagittarius dynamic. But Scorpio is very, very psychological, because it's so aware of how other people respond that it knows in some ways how to manipulate. And I think now is a time to take that to its highest level of using that awareness for its highest and greatest good. So the South Node represents an egoless point, an emotional point, where I have to get really deep and ask myself deep questions about what is the truth of my intention. Because oftentimes we don't do things for our own happiness. We do them for the approval and the applause of others. Now we have the North Node moving into Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. Again, I want to go back to this idea that Venus and Pluto are having this conversation, transiting in Capricorn, going, do you like the structure of your life? Do you like how your love life is running? Do you like how you're interacting with your female friends, with your own emotional body? The nodes of the moon represent emotional dynamics. They're not planets, they're points. And the North Node is one we're stretching for, we're reaching for. It's almost like a concept, and it makes us ravenous to experience that dynamic. So I think what we're going to see is, as the North Node moves through Taurus, people are really going to want to put their own voice onto their life. They're going to want to make their money through their own efforts, not the efforts of phoning things in from 9 to 5 in hopes that maybe a year from now you'll get a raise. I think that this is all going to start to, it may feel a little disruptive and very disintegrating in the beginning, but I think it's going to bring a rise up to the individual. And the individual is going to start thinking about the collective and how they participate in the collective. So where we're going from this idea where we're just running our lives and hoping to, everybody's working for the weekend kind of idea, it's going to broaden into the ripple effect. I also think we're going to see some changes in the material world. We're going to see paper money go away. So if you know, right now, if you got $100 bill and it's a fresh, clean one, put it away and save it, because it may be worth $1,000 in 10 years, because paper money doesn't exist anymore. The electronic dynamic, the idea of Uranus transiting through Taurus, and then the North Node coming into Taurus, is going to really bring technology and innovation at the forefront of the next 18 months before the nodes go into the Libra Aries axis. And so I bring these things up today because rather than do readings for you, I felt like it was super important to talk about Pluto and Venus having this conversation, and to take the darkness away from Pluto. Of course, it can be dark. There are many dynamics. Venus can be dark if she's vain and if she's jealous. We all have these varying shades within our character, as do the planets and what they represent for our growth and our evolution through humanity. So for me, I feel as if this South Node transiting through Scorpio gives an opportunity for people to really capitalize on their spirituality, to connect with their ancestors. You know, Scorpio rules the dead. And if I happen to have Neptune, Mercury in Scorpio, and some people think I can talk to the dead, and I have. And it's given me an awareness that this is a continuous process, that the soul goes through challenges to seek the opportunities through them. And if we are willing to be brave and dig deep, and that's what Pluto and this Scorpio South Node transit are going to ask us. Are you living an authentic life to your truth? Where are you giving up your power to another person? Are you diminishing yourself because you're aging and you no longer feel fresh? And really what's happening is your wisdom is making you more beautiful than you've ever been before. I think these are very important dynamics to start to contemplate. I think that's why this Mercury retrograde feels so powerful to me, because it really gives me an opportunity to look and see, while I'm still in the sign of Capricorn, we're still walking through the Capricorn energy. How do I structure my life? Where do I put my focus? What do I really believe in? And am I susceptible to shame? And how, because people are shaming each other for the choices they're making. And I think that's what's really coming up, is that there will be an illumination that the initial response to things was fear-based. And you never profit, you never prosper, you never feel vital in a fear-based platform. So as we give life to the idea that our energetic dynamic, our belief system, is the beginning of everything we experience, the belief of our body, the belief of our emotional viability, the belief of our value to the outside world and to ourselves. This is the beginning of your immune system in the physical body. Spirit has shown me over and over again that we don't cross over to the other side randomly. There are elements and there are components to the process. And one of them is our personal agreement to that experience. And that may seem weird because people seem too young to cross over, but sometimes they don't cross over because they're sick of being here. They cross over so other people will feel empathy, and then there's an outcry for change. So while this particular video is not focused on any futuristic preparations, or predictions is a better word, because I do think it's about preparation and about thinking about how you want the next year and a half to sit as you are allowed to go through this energy of not giving up your ego to another person, but rather claiming your ego, which I want to say is taking away the element of edging God out, and then standing in my deeper truth. And if it doesn't agree with you, it doesn't mean I have to villainize you, shame you, or betray you. I just get to claim me. So I don't know if all of my followers really follow astrology or pay attention to it, but if you give life to the idea of these concepts and then you start to observe your outside world, I think you'll start to see a correlation. And then we can use these dynamics to move our story forward and stand at the highest vibration possible to represent for those that have gone behind the veil of fear and are feeling vulnerable and scared and inadvertently lashing out as a result of it. So that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about today. It really isn't anything specific. We're going to have a full moon next week in Cancer. And I'll be back to do a video about that, because that to me is the culmination of a 6-month cycle. Again, starting last year and coming into play now. But that's what I wanted to talk about. I hope you found benefit. I am doing readings. If anybody would like to book a reading with me, if you'd like to look into your past life and your nodal structure to see a little bit about your soul's intention for this lifetime, I am available. They're fun to do. So that's it. That's all I got to say. My name is Teri Hunter. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back next week with another video about the full moon in Cancer. Have a great week, everybody. Peace out.